Success in anything is about consistency, not hard work. Hey ladies, I'm back. Another day, another podcast. Okay, so in being authentic fashion, I actually re-recorded this podcast, and I'll tell you why. I was using a quote from someone, and it was about consistency and hard work equals success and greatness. And I was scrolling through these quotes of success, and I thought, I can't do this. I'm not in alignment with this. I don't believe this to be true. So I wanted the theme for today's podcast to be the stages of success. But before I talk about the different stages, I just want to give you some love. In the last few weeks, I've been talking about habits and parenting and consistency and all of the shit that I'm going through with trying to figure out, being in the habit of feeling good and where we get tripped up and how we're up leveling in our lives and where we sabotage ourselves. And I want you to know this. You're allowed to cry. You're allowed to feel like this is hard. You're allowed to feel like this is impossible. And you're also allowed to dream. You're also allowed to listen to that deep, deep part of yourself that says, keep going. You're allowed to make mistakes. You're allowed to feel like a failure. And you're also allowed to be really fucking proud of yourself for what you've accomplished. So I want to tell you, consistency equals success. But there are different stages, there are different levels to getting to where you want to be. Too often, women reach out to me and say, how did you get to where you are today? And the truth is, that's 10 years of consistency. That's 10 years of cultivating relationships with my children in the way that I have. You have to start where you're at. We need to stop. We can look at other people as inspiration, but we need to stop saying, how can I become that person? Because the truth is, you will never become me. It's impossible. You may become more than me. But the truth is, you will become you. You will become your desires, your wants, the life that you want. So utilize people that you look up to as inspiration. Say, how can I cultivate that in my life as well? But know that what success looks like for me may not be what success looks like for you. Okay, you may have heard me talk about my sustainable ambition theory previously. This is my little triangle, so I'm going to try to paint this picture out for you. So you have a little triangle and it's building blocks. On the bottom of the triangle, we have survival. You're living in survival mode. On top of survival is momentum. On top of momentum is thrival. And on top of thrival is abundance. So you can use this diagram, you can use this visual for any area of your life. So when it comes to, let's say, money, for example, living paycheck to paycheck, barely able to scrape by, if not at all, you're in survival mode. And then all of a sudden you get a little momentum going. So you're there. And then all of a sudden, now you're able to save. Your debt is paid off. You're in thrival state. And now you have an abundance where your debt is paid off. You're saving at a great rate. You have enough money to give back, to give to charity, to make a bigger impact. This is what I mean by the stages of success. So what does this look like in parenting, for example? Okay, so typically when people are in survival mode in parenting, what I see is I can't, it's impossible, my child won't listen to me, and then the parent feeling out of control. Always living by default, putting fires out on a daily basis. The belief that you have in survival mode, and I'm just using parenting as an example, is I can't. It's impossible. So in this survival state, remember, your beliefs create your thoughts, and your thoughts create your actions or inactions. So if you believe that something is impossible and you're not taking action to change it, you're right. It will be impossible. But let's just say you are creating momentum and you do have some type of trust or faith that things will change. Even though you think, I can't, this is impossible, you start taking action. And all of a sudden you have this state of momentum. Even though you didn't believe that change was possible, you started taking different action. So now you're in the state of momentum. And you've seen sparks of change. Things are getting lighter for you. You don't feel so stressed out and overwhelmed. Maybe you're starting to notice a shift in your relationship. It's easier to cope. Now, what I often find with people in a state of momentum, and when we start coaching together, they'll get there within a few weeks or a month, and they'll say to me, this is too good to be true. I'm just waiting for the other shoe to drop. I'm waiting for someone to pull the rug out. This is too good to be true. When we have a belief that this is too good to be true, we're in a vulnerable state. So when you're in a state of momentum, right? You're out of your old ways in survival mode. You're in the state of momentum. You're like, oh, this is too good to be true. Remember, you're in a vulnerable state. You're in a vulnerable position because you're open for sabotage. And sometimes I see people drop back down into survival mode because they've sabotaged themselves, or they're at the glass ceiling and they want to get through the thrival state, but they're like, I've never experienced anything like this, Heather. I've never had this much freedom and connection in my relationships with my children. I've never had to yell. What is this? And this is the point where we start surpassing the parental generations before us. So then what happens is you get into a thrival state. So you've passed this momentum, you're breaking generational patterns, and now you're in this thrival state of success. You've now adopted the lifestyle. You don't even remember how you existed before. So when you're in this state of thrival, oftentimes you've lost people too. Because you've adopted a lifestyle and you're no longer living another lifestyle. An example, and I'm just going to use food as an example because it's easy. It has nothing to do with parenting. But let's just say you stopped drinking and you stopped eating out, or you stopped eating, fast food and junk food. If you have friends that's all they do, or people in your life, you're like, I'm not feeling it anymore. Or people always want to hang out and go drinking and go doing all these things. You're like, that's not my lifestyle anymore. Do you want to go to a yoga class? Do you want to go for a walk? Do you want to go to a spin class? You start to adopt and find people that are in alignment with your lifestyle. So know that with the stages of success, and when I say success, I mean success on your terms. So whatever that looks like for you, you will lose people at each stage as well. And in parenting, I see this a lot because you can create a connection with your child on a deeper level in your thrival state. You're not yelling anymore. You're not fatigued. And all of a sudden, you don't associate with any of those people. And sometimes you'll see that they're really struggling with their children, or they're struggling with your children, and you don't connect to that way of being, and they're looking for a connection with you. And sometimes it creates a disconnect in your relationship with that person, because you have become a different person. And then the next phase of the stages of success is the abundant phase. The abundant phase is what I like to call the lone wolf syndrome. This is when you reach this stage in your life. You've created momentum. You've surpassed resistance. You've surpassed losing people that might not be on the same path as you. You've broken through generational patterns in your parenting. And here you are creating connection, creating connection with your child on a deeper level. No yelling, no arguing, realizing that empathy and compassion go a long way. You have emotional intelligence. You're teaching these skills and strategies to your child. You have more than enough. Oftentimes what I find in the abundance phase is you are so full and your cup is overflowing that now you're in a teacher role. Now you feel strong enough and confident enough to teach these skills to other people. People start to look up to you and say, what did you do? What are you doing? Can you teach me that? or you're inspired to share your message. So this is what I wanted to tell you today. Success and greatness doesn't need to feel hard. It's not hard work. It's consistency. What's hard about it is our belief in our stories that something is difficult and hard. So ask yourself every day, am I being consistent in the parenting strategy and relationship that I want to cultivate with my child? If you are determined to have a successful relationship with your child or with anyone else, understand it takes consistent investment. Consistency, consistency, consistency. Now, you might be wondering, well, Heather, what if there's a disconnect in that relationship? What if that person or child wants nothing to do with me? That's okay. You can still get to your phases of success in that relationship if that other person does not want to be in a relationship with you. Yep. It's all about the emotional, internal freedom that you crave and how your perception and connection is perceived with that person. So if you are doing the daily consistent work to improve your relationship with that person, sometimes the actions that you're going to be taking to get out of survival mode and into a state of momentum and into a state of thrival and abundance has nothing to do with the other person and everything to do with you. You are the foundation of every relationship in your life, conscious or unconscious. Now, let me give you an example of that because I just got a little woo-woo on you. Have you ever been in a relationship with someone where they've just said, I can't do this anymore. I don't want to be with you. I don't want to spend time with you. This is hard for me. I'm not feeling it. We've all had those, right? Have you ever had a hard time grieving the loss of that person? Have you ever had a hard time grieving the loss of that relationship? And you're in survival mode. You're thinking about it all the time, right? Doing the consistency to forgive yourself and to let that go, creating momentum. And then once you're getting to a state of momentum and you're feeling a little bit better, getting to a thrival state in your life with that relationship. So just know that the stages of success, and for the sake of this podcast, I was using it in terms of parenting, but regardless if the child wants to be in the relationship with you or not, because I understand not everyone is going to have the same dynamic, it all starts with you. Who do you need to become at every stage of success? All right, ladies, I hope this was helpful. Let me know your thoughts. Send me a DM on Instagram at Mamas in Control. Talk soon.